So today we're going to look at 10 effective culture that you need to embrace in your organization. And why are we looking at culture today? So today I was hoping to look at the benefits of communication, because we just got started in our communication program, but I'm not going to talk about that so much because I know you already understand the benefits. You already know the benefits of that, and you know the benefits of being an effective communicator. It goes without saying. It opens opportunities for you. It enables you to problem solve. It enables you to build relationships not just with your clients but with your team members, and it also encourages just a good working habit. So we're just going to look at that good working habit and why it's important. For me, I believe being in a good working environment not only boosts your productivity, but it also boosts your likelihood of staying in that place. Like, everyone wants to be in a place where they're appreciated and they just feel known, they feel heard, they feel seen, they feel appreciated, they feel valued by management or by team members. So some of the things that you might say is it doesn't matter as long as you're being productive. No, it really matters, because at the end of the day, how people feel, how people project is exactly how they'll project to your customers. So if you do not have an amazing corporate culture or an amazing work culture within your organization, then you're really missing out on that. And one misconception you hear so many people think is that, the employees are the ones who build this corporate culture that we talk about. That is not true. In fact, if you think about it for a second, employees come and go. You'll have new ones, you'll have old ones, you'll have those who stick by you. So why would we say that employees are the ones who will build a good corporate culture in our organization, or a good culture? Who determines how the customer is called? Who determines what time we come in? Who determines the time we start our meetings? Who determines the whole process of, say, someone requests for a refund or something? Who determines all that? And who determines the kind of language or the kind of vocabulary that we consider are inside jokes? All these things are pegged on, say, leadership and management. And the one thing that I know for a fact is that if you are not embracing that as the founder, or if you're not embracing that as key stakeholders in the business, including the management and people who are just above the others, then you don't expect that from your employees or from your juniors or from people under you, because you are the one who embodies where we're going. You're the one who embodies what is acceptable. And so if you don't practice that, then don't expect them to practice that. So that's what we're going to look at today. This is episode 5 of the Human Algorithm of Things. Welcome. Today we're going to look at corporate culture. We're going to look at your business culture, how to cultivate it, who's responsible for it, and who enforces it in your organization. We're talking about, are we going to put posters all over the place talking about the vision and the mission and our core values? And what are even core values in the first place? And do they really matter? How do we ensure that we have people who will support us to win more than support us to stagnate? So we're just going to look at it in general, and then let's see how it goes. So on this episode, we're going to look at why it's important. For me, I believe it's very important because I've been in organizations where the culture was just off, and it's easy to notice once you notice that a culture is absolutely off, because there's a lot of bullying, there's a lot of self-entitlement, there's a lot of not working in sync with others, because you feel like your project or your work is so much important than the rest of the team members. And that kind of misalignment in an organization setup or in business can cost you, or is costing you, to lose a lot of business, not because you're not good, or not because your product is not good or your service is not amazing, but just because you do not have a cohesive environment where people can flourish and where people feel that their impact is felt. So one of the common things that I see, especially in this local setup, is that we empower people who don't need to be empowered per se. We get people who this is my friend, this is someone I can trust, and we put them in business. If we empower people who do not even need to be in any leadership position per se, so we think that, because I can trust this person, then maybe I can trust them to run my business or to run my team. What we're forgetting is that if this person is incompetent, people will see that. If this person is not working on their leadership skill to ensure that they are always know how to problem solve, know how to give instructions, know how to give feedback, know how to empower the team, then they're really missing out on the mark. So that is the biggest challenge, because you find that so many people say, oh, my team is doing this, my team is doing the other. But when you look deep into this team dynamics, you find that there are people who are appointed for certain positions that do not even deserve to have any position at all. And like there's a post that I just posted on LinkedIn, and this was from a live LinkedIn session that I had with I attended. There's a lady on LinkedIn, I forget the name. She talks so much about a succession and all that, how to prepare leaders into positions, and I like it. I always follow through her content because I know this is very important, not just for me, but for those who are in leadership positions. So if you're interested, I'm just going to put everything around somewhere here, and you can always check them out and always see what's happening, because you don't always just have the opportunity or the luxury to elevate someone when the time comes. Sometimes you are hoping that things will just work out until you find that your biggest management or your biggest leader that you really are hoping will hold the team together decides to leave. And maybe it's an executive, so you need to replace them. So maybe you've not even planned for that whole succession process, and you find yourself promoting the most competent in their work rather than promoting the most prepared one in both their work and and the person you have actually nurtured into leadership. So leadership is something that can be nurtured, and leadership is something that cannot just be taken lightly, especially because it is pegged on getting the right people to get the work done. So it's always management, leadership, and all that together. It leads to productivity and all the good stuff. So that's what we're going to look at today. So contrary to common beliefs that you just hope that you get a good employee, you actually mold your employees into becoming these good employees. You mold them through training, through helping them understand how their work privately impacts the whole organization, and how then they're making a difference in the spaces that they are in. So we're going to look at the working a good corporate culture or working a good business culture, and we're going to peg it on some of the key highlights, or there are 10 thereabout. So this is going to be a long one. Get your coffee, get your tea, because we're going to go deep into it. Yeah, so we're going to peg it on David Ogilvy's perspective on a great corporate culture. And for that, I will also link a video for what the things that he explains, and then now this is my 2 cents on what he posted or what he highlighted or could be considered as good corporate culture. I agree with most of them 100%, and let's see if you also agree with them, and you're free to just comment and let me know which one of them or which one we've missed out on. So number 1, work obsessively to build a strong corporate culture. And it is in fact through a deliberate effort to build or create a strong corporate culture. So you have to make culture a differentiation factor in the market. So he starts by saying, this is something you have to work obsessively over. I usually say brand building is something you need to work on consistently. This is also another thing. So there are these intangibles that we think we can get away with, as say in business or in corporate. So this is just a good way to start saying that this is something you need to work intentionally or obsessively to make sure that you have a great corporate culture. And it starts with leadership, as I've said. Once the leaders get it right, the others will just pick out from the leaders themselves. So the main ingredient of their corporate culture. So these are some of the things we're going to look at. So number one, make working here a happy experience. So make working in your organization or in your department a happy experience. So you find that there are those organizations where we have different departments, and you find that maybe the IT department is so, it's so fun and people are just open and people are happy, and then you find that there's, say, the marketing department or the finance department, people are just serious, they're always just cutthroat, and people just want to be at the top. So that just says a lot about the management of that department. So if you're not creating an environment where it's a happy place, you don't even want to be there in the first place. And that's why they say work obsessively to build a corporate culture, because that will also determine how you show up every single day in that work environment. You don't want to show up in places where people are just waiting for you to give you all the, the gossip and who has done this, who has not done this, and people are just trying to finish or to kill each other within the department. So that same applies to business. So if your business is not a happy place where people can embrace innovation, creativity, and can actually open up and let you know of what needs to be improved, it's going to be, people are just always going to work for you, but they're just waiting for the time when they get another opportunity and leave you with your struggles, with your problems. So yeah, you have to make it a happy place where people can open up, people can speak, and I think, yeah, treat people like human beings. So the thing is, for me, I would say I would never delegate something, or I would never hand over something to someone that I have not done myself. So what I'm just saying is this: if it's a matter of delegation, if it's a matter of handing over some responsibility to a team member, it's always good to think about, who is this person capable of doing this? And if yes, then ask yourself, if I were to be given the same opportunity, how long would it take me, or what would success look like? So that you don't impose a lot of pressure on this person, or impose a lot of unrealistic deadlines because you do not have the time, so you give them so that it can be pegged on them. Because remember, if you're just starting out in leadership, and this is what I usually say, if you're just starting out in leadership, you're always feeling like everything is pegged on you, that you have to, all the success is pegged on you. So you don't distribute any work, or you're not confident in your team per se. So you're always feeling like everything has to start and end with me. But if you're a veteran in leadership, you realize that you are as good as your team members. So if one of your team members is slagging or is sluggish, that 100% contributes to you being sluggish. So it's just upon you to lift everyone up and be at the same level. So, and therefore, veterans always trust their team members with work, because they know that I have empowered them enough to do something. Treating people like human beings goes back to say, if I were to do the same job that I'm giving this person, how much support, how much resources would they require to have it done, or how much time would be required? Treating people like human beings means you have your bad days, they also have their bad days. You have your good days, they also have their good days. So just putting all that into consideration, and not being so robotic in the way you lead. Because if you know that you also have certain days where you're just lazy and bored, and maybe you're experiencing something, then they'll also have those days. So you always have to be empathetic and always be open to listen, more than just self-imposing. Then help them when they are in trouble with their jobs and so forth. So helping them when they're in trouble or in their jobs or in their responsibilities, it's just basically creating that room that we said, a happy place, where you create room where people can actually open up and say, I'm not able to do this because of this and that, or I'm stuck, or I need help, or such things. There are certain environments where you are not supposed to seek out help, because number one, people will consider you incompetent. Number two, it will not even be paid attention to, and they'll just wait for the end of the month to just work your performance and ask you so many questions. So if people cannot open up and say, I'm having trouble with this, or they're not open to say that, yes, I did this so well, but I need help in this, or I need these resources, or just open up and tell you and give you a different perspective, it's not going to be a place where someone would want to stay. So we help our people make the best of their talent. So that is the third thing. So yes, sometimes you may not have the best of the best, but I usually say if you do not have the best of the best, you can always replace that with a lot of training. Training is not just telling people come, there's a leadership training that is happening, join in. Training is just about looking at how successful this person would be as a result of training, and looking at the gaps. Looking at, sometimes you say we need to train these people. So there's one time I listened to a training recording that was saying sometimes you don't have to train, sometimes you have to change the processes. And that is very true, for the fact that sometimes you want to train, but it's not about training, it's about the outdated systems that we are working with. So it's always good to innovate. Training in itself is a game changer, because you're not just giving generic content, but you're training based on the skill that you expect them to have. So if, say, they're making calls and you realize that maybe this one person always clocks out with maybe less number of calls, or less number of closed deals, now you try to find out in every step that he does what part is missing, or what is the missing link, so that they are not able to close as much as the rest. So that's how training happens. You don't just impose generic trainings. You need to customize and make sure they are tailor-made, so that it can fit both the person who's receiving the training, so that they also give it their best to be trained. Because if you just give something generic, it doesn't really trickle down to the results. So that's how maybe you assess the training needs, and also eventually look at how the key performance indicators after the training. So you try to find out, try to interview, try to ask the management who's immediately responsible for the team member. Just try to create something that is valuable, because that is what someone will concentrate or really focus on. And then a democratic system of management. This is a system where it's not because someone has said let's do this, we all do it. It's basically, let's hear from every other person. Let's hear from the team members. Let's hear from different contributions, and then let's come to a consensus. Why is this important? Because sometimes you find that there are those people who are always, it's either my way or the highway. I promise you, I have met people who are always like that. It's either you do it my way, or we're not doing it. Like, they're all no way. And I promise you, they never succeed. They never succeed because there's this ownership that comes with giving people the opportunity to be part of bringing a solution. That is very important. That if you miss the mark on that, you're running something all by yourself, because there's no that a whole ownership of saying, yes, we came together and we said this is what we're going to do, and everyone understands why their decisions were agreed to, or why their decisions were put on the side. Everyone understands it, and everyone can take ownership of the final recommendations. And that is what is that is what propels people to now go ahead and to work on achieving the recommendations. But if it's always imposed on them, yes, they may have all these amazing ideas, but they don't even have anyone to tell. So they just take in what you've said and do it blindly. Let me tell you, when someone keeps on giving information and it's not acted upon, they reach a point, they become blocks, so that they just take what you've said and they do it. Take what you said and they do it without questioning, without adding any creativity, without innovating. And I promise you, especially if you're a startup, that is the worst place you can be, because these are people who are just working for their income, and they do not really care if you're going to stay in business or not. So if you're embracing the democratic system of management, you're saying we are open to hearing suggestions, and it should always be something that is a closed loop where people know they will always be asked opinions and all that, and you can always know the kind of people. And you see why Elon Musk would say, if you don't have anything to say in a meeting, then you don't have to come, because it just creates this environment where you have to contribute, like you have to give something. And once you go to a place where you find the stakes are very high and people are very committed with what they're doing, sometimes it gets chaotic. But if it gets chaotic, it's because these people are committed, these people are invested in this, and that's why it gets that chaotic. So there's a lot that goes into team dynamics, but the thing is, if we give every single member an opportunity to air their points and to feel heard, even those who come and just come with generic content will have to step up, because they will notice that every other person is doing this. So why am I the only one who's spreading the whole meh attitude when it comes to work? So yeah, so give executives an extraordinary freedom and independence. So let them not feel like they cannot make a decision unless you tell them to make a decision. Let your executives or your management feel like, they have been empowered enough by you to also go ahead and make mid-level decisions that will also not go parallel to yours, but will be of the benefit of the organization. So award people with gentle manners, award professionalism, combined with civility. So you usually know of this employee of the year kind of things, and mostly it's usually let's award the best performed. It's usually let's award the best performed. So let's say in sales or in finance or IT, it's always about performance, and that culture is kind of dying out, because we realize that people are just more than what the numbers say. People are people. People have their own, multifaceted interests that are not just pegged on performance. So when you look at the employee of the year, who are the kind of people that you're giving these awards? Because these awards say a lot about the kind of culture that you want to build in your organization. Award professionalism, gentle manners, civility, people who care about others, people who are concerned that it's not just about me, but it's about us winning collectively. Award such people. Don't be quick to award people who are always cutthroat, that it's just them. Sometimes you want to award the best performer technically, but these people will determine how the others will treat others. So let's have this kind of awarding employee of the month or employee of the year, where we look at how people have contributed positively to their teams as well as to their performance, so that it's not just rising as a single person, because you want everyone to rise. Imagine if it's only one person who's rising in the organization, what happens to these other people? Won't they just feel like, okay, this is just a one-man show, and they won't even bother to even try, because we are not looking at how much a support each and every team member is bringing. Yes, it could be one for quite a long time until they step up, but you still have to look into it and ask yourself, why is it always this one person? Yeah, people who bring results and people who have a heart. People who are honest in argument, honest with clients, honest with suppliers, honest with themselves. So these are the kinds of people that Ogilvy admires. When it comes to running a business, I've come to learn that it's not always good to take advice from everyone. There are people who will just give you advice, not because they want the best for you, but because they are malicious. They are malicious in terms of they have their own vested interest, and you're the best person who can ensure that they get their interest now. So they don't really care about the business 5 years from now. They just want their interest catered to. As a leader, you're always like 50 steps ahead of everyone else, because this is your responsibility. This is your business. Say you carry the vision and all this, but you're always 50 steps ahead. So sometimes you listen to someone, and the way they're saying it, it's like giving you a shortcut to the end. Yes, you know it's a shortcut because they're trying to cut some, way around something. So generally speaking, I'd say every time I have listened to someone who is not vested in my business or who is not really in the game with me, I have come to live the consequences terribly because these people are always looking for their quick fix. So sometimes you want to say, okay, I'm going to listen to this person. Why are you even listening to them? Have they ever achieved what you want to achieve? Is it why do you always make it so emotional? Like, if you're taking advice from someone, take advice from someone who's in the game. Take advice. If I'm listening to, say, my sister does podcast, and if I'm listening to her and she gives me some constructive criticism, that's something I can listen. But this is someone who's doing absolutely nothing with their lives. They're just there, and you're basically giving their 100% support to them, and they still have the nerve and the guts to say that they have an opinion. It's not working. So always put that at the back of your head. Is this person making an effort in their lives, in terms of their career, in terms of where they are? Why are we even talking too much? Just ask yourself, would I switch places with this person? If I was told, now Diana, you need to switch places with this person who's giving you advice, would I switch? If the answer is no, if the answer is genuinely no, then there's no point in even listening to what they have to say. Because first of all, I'm not talking about team dynamics and leadership. I'm talking about general opinions. People always have opinions. People will have opinions on things they have never even done. So when it comes to team dynamics, and you're listening to your team members say something, you remember you have 50 steps foresight. But this is someone who performs. This is someone who's in the game with you. This is someone who's by you. And they give an opinion, and you can see clearly that this is a good opinion. This is something we can implement. Then so be it. But we're talking about people who are not even in your business. People are just outsiders, and they think they're the best people to give you advice. So when I talk about, and this is something we're going to look at later on, when we look at taking advice from a business consultant, that's also not so good. Okay, so let's continue. We admire people who work hard. We despise office politicians, toadies, bullies, pompous asses. So this just goes back to, if someone is not a hard worker, and sometimes you say, oh, you don't gauge people by your expectations. Gauge people by your expectations, especially if it's in your business or your department, especially if you've grown into some level. Gauge them by your standards. I'm not going to kid you, because if you're gauging them by your standards, there are 3 things that are involved. If someone is not performing, number 1, they do not have the right training. Number 2, they do not know what success means to them, in that role. And number 3, they do not have the resources to get them wherever they want. So these are 3 things that you need to ensure that every single time, every single team member has these 3 things catered for. Either they do not know what success is, they are not trained enough, so they do not have the skill to perform, or they do not have the resources to even do the job. So if you have that in place, then put your standards. I promise you, your standards will work. Because it's the aspect of, let people be, give them time. No, there's no such thing as giving them time. If you are able to do it at that level, then you put all these 3 things in place, and you listen more than you speak, then I don't think there's an opportunity to say someone should perform less. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. So yeah, there are those who are always politicians. They are funny people in the office, bullies. These are just people who have not really worked on their personal development. So they're trying to cover up their weaknesses through, say, bullying others, trying to be so, being politically aligned. You can try as much as possible to be politically aligned in an organization, but especially in the private sector, if you are not performing at the end of the day, yes, you can have all this alignment and all this, but performance is key. That's why I say, don't put people in very crucial positions that are just politicians. Nobody wants to to be led by someone who speaks more than he does, or who speaks more than she does. People want to be led by someone they can look up to and say, I also want to be like this person. I want to go to that, to have that position. I want to take your position. That is how you determine the kind of people you want to promote. So a good corporate culture also involves inclusivity, from board of directors to employees. When it comes to promotions, inclusivity, we're looking at both the top management going down. So we are looking at board, what's the representation like, and then promotions, who are being promoted in an organization, and then character spells leadership. So if you don't promote people with good character, the leadership will kind of have some flaws, and those people underneath will feel the pressure from those who have been promoted. We usually say that we do not hold people by our standards, and we say we want them to work by what they believe is their standard. The thing about that is that sometimes you find that you promote people who cannot inspire others to do work. You promote people because we have the inclusivity, and inclusivity respects diversity. So if you don't have people who are represented, say women are represented, say in management, and you don't have to just give a token and say just have this one person. Remember, succession is a whole process that you have to really put into consideration. Who's going to succeed this person? Are they prepared for succession? I think you need to really follow this woman. She says superb content about succession. Yeah, so make sure that each and every person who's promoted can really inspire the ones who are left in the department to want to also be promoted. Recommendation we make to our clients are the recommendations we would make if we owned that company without regard to our own short-term interests. So this earns us respect. So you find that now we're coming here to business strategies and as strategic managers and people like us. So you find that you have an opinion about how things should be done in a business. But first, you need to don't just go to a business strategist and ask them, a quick one. There's always a quick one. Would you please do this? That is not how to handle it. When you handle it in that manner, you're trying to tell them, could you give me an insight into my business in a second? They do not know what's happening sometimes. And this is what used to happen when I was still working as a marketer. So the thing is, you find that there are so many underlying issues in the organization that you don't just need a marketer. You need to do an entire overhaul in your organization, because there's the leadership flaw, there's no team motivation, there's no team building. There is so much that is eating up your business that not even the marketing would help. It will need you to do more than that. So whenever you seek help from a strategic manager like myself, or someone in marketing or in PR or in business, always allow them to scrutinize your business first. Let them look through it, and if they can present their findings first so that you can say, oh yeah, I didn't see this from this perspective, then they can proceed to make recommendations. But if you're just always like, oh, just tell me what I should do with my business, that is a very shallow way of looking at things, because they might end up giving you recommendations that are not usually the best for the best of your business, because you're eventually the one who understands your business better. So what I do personally is I make sure that whichever recommendation I give to a client is something that I know I would give for my business. Why? Because the success of my client is pegged on my success. If they succeed with a strategy, then I have succeeded, because these people will not shut up about it, and they will go and tell the next person. So if you are that person who's always about the shortcomings, okay, let's do 2 posts per day and all this, but you're forgetting the underlying issue, and you're forgetting why this business is struggling at this point in time, then sometimes you stand a chance of making this business fail. At the same time, you will not get that client again. So try to sell We try to sell our clients products without interfering with crucial, fundamental country or local perceptions, and without cheating the consumer. That's also something else. You find that you have these salespeople who are not even trained, so they do not understand the value. Any salesperson, any marketer in your business or in your team, or anyone who deals with a customer, they need to actually articulate what the business is about, how the business makes money, the product, the vision and the mission, and why, and their role. They really need to articulate that, because you find there are people who don't take their time to do that. So they are very corny and they just want to get products out. So they end up cheating the consumer. And these are things that you will not feel. You just feel like, oh, we're really performing, but you don't realize that these are people who are very malicious. So one time it just blows up, everything blows up, and you find you're in a very tricky situation, not because of anything, but because of someone who was trying to market your business for the short-term gain. And then the habit of divine discontent, our performance, it is an antidote to smugness. So we are not being content at the position that we are in. Like, we're not always going to say we have reached. We're always going to try to innovate. We're always going to try to make things better, not just for ourselves, but for our customers as well. So we say that, I'm not competing with my competitors, I'm competing with myself, I'm competing with my systems, I'm competing with my processes, I'm competing with ensuring that my team members understand what is expected of them. And this is pegged on not being content. And so if you're not content, you say, we will not fix the wheel because it's not broken, but we will still look at the wheel and see how can we improve it, how can we make it better. So that's the whole analogy of it. Replication of operations to other branches. So this is just, in essence, how we have succeeded in the main branch, say, is what we're going to replicate in the others. We're not going to say that because we have done so well in terms of our corporate culture here, then we don't need to do as much in the next. We consider that this is just the start. This is just the blueprint of what success looks like. And then we translate that to other branches, and we make sure that even the other branches go by or are in tune with the kind of culture that we are promoting. So we sell, or else you can't bore people into buying your products. You can only interest them in buying it. So that is just, in essence, how you do your advertising. Are you putting your people into consideration? The thing is, this is so easy to forget. I don't do social media management, but I do customer-centric strategies. Yes, which eventually trickles down to how you do your social media marketing. But the thing is, why do we not listen? Why do we not listen to our clients? Why do we not answer their questions? Why do we not give value in our content? And we wonder why it's not converting. Because if you can get just 10 or even 5 people who are serious or keen about your product, and you get to talk with them consistently, you can create content that is worth 10 years just by speaking or listening to these 5 or 10 people. So that's how you build your content. There's so much that you can do through entertainment, but at the end of the day, we are consumers and we need you to satisfy some of our deepest desires with your product or service. So yes, we have entertainment content, we have nurturing content, and we have promotion content. So when it comes to the nurturing content, you want to offer as much value. You want to offer as much nuances, because people like when you know their problems in detail. Then I prefer the discipline of knowledge for the anarchy of ignorance. We pursue knowledge the way a pig pursues truffles. So the thing is, we are not content. Number one, we are not content where we are. So number two, we're always seeking out knowledge, seeking out how to improve our services, how to improve our products, how to improve our systems, operations, optimizing, efficiency, and all these buzzwords. So it's not just about I'm selling a product today and I'm going to stay the same. Am I elevating my team? Am I training them? Am I giving them career progression? and am I growing with them? So this is just about seeking out knowledge, exposing people to what is possible, because when we come to your organization, you have given us what is possible. Now you want to expose us to even better things, like better ways of doing things, better ways of achieving things, and helping us as a result. So we hire gentlemen with brains. So this Homozi was once saying something like, you have hired dumb people when you start creating rules like do not watch Netflix, do not eat in the office, I don't know what. And I laughed because there are certain things that you incorporate into your culture and you think they're so normal. You think that they are not so much of a big deal, but they are in fact a big deal. When someone is watching Netflix at the detriment of doing the work, it's not that I have finished my work, now let me go watch Netflix. It's just because there's room to watch Netflix. There's room to overeat in the office. There's room to focus on every other thing other than work in the office. So you want to eliminate that. There's so much that can be done within a day. And if you realize that, okay, there's some laxity, then there's a problem, because you can't say that you always finish your work within an hour, so you have all the time to yourself to do certain things that you want to do. So hire people with brains, meaning these are people who know that I'm not just pegged on my work. Like, I can do my work, and if I have time, I can still focus on other things that make me be better at my work. You're getting? So when you get people who are just toadies, they are more concerned about having free time than even working. So they don't really do a lot of career progression. They are those politicians, they're the bullies, they're the funny people, the comedians, but they don't always focus on, say, personal development, or they don't focus on ensuring that their work is better than what they did yesterday. In fact, they like it when they give a continuous and a consistent result, because therefore they don't need to really think too much. They just have to deliver a little bit and that's it. So the consumer is not a moron, she's your wife, don't insult her intelligence. So some of you think that consumers will just listen to you blabbering and lying about your content or your product and assume that, okay, that is the gospel truth. That is not the case, especially in this day and age. People have all the information they need. People have all the content they need. They just come to you for the service or the product, and they sometimes even test your intelligence or test your trust level. So sometimes you think they're fools when they come to you. They act foolish. They act foolish thinking that you are going to be someone who's trustworthy. So when it comes to your adverts, when it comes to your content, if you don't deliver value, get out of business. You will not last with tricking people. Never run an advertisement you don't want your own family to see. That is especially for businesses. If you want to run an advertisement, remember this is your wife. You can't lie to them. And so this is okay. So we are done with the culture bit of it. Hire people with brains. Hire people who are motivated, self-driven, people who are leaders in their own sense, people who treat others like human beings, people who are willing to grow, people who are willing to learn, people who listen. Don't offer high managerial positions to people who have not reached that level. Train people, motivate people, be keen on team building. What else am I forgetting? Work on your succession process. And what else have I missed? It's fine. People are honest. People are honest with themselves, honest with the customer, honest with the suppliers. People who just are keen on not just their interest, but the interest of everyone in the team. Be inclusive. Listen to diverse opinions. Make a democratic management system, and so forth. So the rest are just based on advertisement, which I don't think are very relevant. So let me know, from what we have discussed today, what are some of the shortcomings that you feel you have in your business? By saying in your business, I mean, what are some of the cultures that you feel are lagging behind? Is it time management? Am I keeping time? Is it so time management goes to the time people show up at work and the time they actually get down to work? Is it communication? Do they know how to speak well? Do they know how to communicate? Do they know how to articulate themselves? Is that a problem in your business? Number 3 is, do they respect themselves, and do they respect the people that they work with? That in general, are they team players? Are you a team player? And such things. So do you listen to advice from people who actually matter, or do you just want to do things and find someone who can suit your ego and go by what you do? So that's just an opportunity for you to think and to reflect on how to build a great corporate culture. For me, I'd say that people who would quit immediately, not just because you are not because of anything, but because they do not appreciate the toxic environment that your business is running at. So yeah, let me know, what is have you ever experienced an environment where you had to just leave because it's not worth your mental health? And if that's the case, what were the things that you did? And if you didn't do anything about it, what are some of the things that you would appreciate that this organization did for you as an employee? So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.